Hey, I'm Steven and this is Solving the Money Problem. If you're new, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. So you've probably heard of ARK Invest by now. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you've probably also heard that I've recently established a six-figure position in the genomics space, not in a specific genomics stock. Why? At this point in time, I don't have the level of expertise, confidence and conviction to pick an individual company, but I am adamant, have an extremely high level of conviction that the genomic space is going to literally create trillions upon trillions of dollars of value in the stock market over the next decade, and I would like a piece of that. So for the time being, ARK Invest are the custodians of my capital via the ARK Genomics ETF, ARKG. I have both a combination of stock and options, and it now accounts for about 3% of my stock portfolio by value. For what it's worth, the last time I was this excited about an investment opportunity and had such a high level of conviction was Tesla stock, and I probably don't need to tell you guys how that worked out. Does this guarantee that I'll be right once again? Of course not, but my level of conviction is comparable to where it was with the opportunity in Tesla stock. I'm putting this out there and on the record, time will tell. Let's check back on this video in 5 or 10 years and see how things panned out. In this video, I'm looking at ARK Invest's Big Ideas research paper, sharing some of their insights around genomics, next generation DNA sequencing, and how these converging technologies of artificial intelligence, big data, etc. combine and are likely to cause a disruption that is literally worth $9+ trillion in the stock market over the next 5 to 10 years. I'm not even joking. So let's get into the video. But first, hey guys, if you live in the US and you'd like to help out the channel and get up to 4 free stocks, check out the link in the description to WeBull. If you open a new account, you'll get 2 free stocks between $2.50 and $250 each just for opening an account. And if you deposit $100, you'll get a further 2 free stocks valued between $8 and $1,600 each. That is an obnoxiously good return on your investment. I mean, really, deposit $100 and you'll end up with, at minimum, $21 worth of stocks, a 21% ROI on your money. And if you're in Australia, the UK or New Zealand, you can get a free stock with stake also using the link in the description. Let's get back to it. So here we are looking at the ARK Invest Big Ideas 2020 report. There's a ton of different areas of disruptive innovation that ARK sees as enormous investment opportunities, but in this particular report, we're just focusing on the genomics related content. Next generation DNA sequencing. Next generation DNA sequencing, NGS, is the driving force behind the genomic revolution. Since 2003, the cost to sequence a human genome has dropped from nearly $3 billion, yes, that's $3 billion with a B, to less than $1,000. And when was the last time we saw any technology decline so dramatically in costs over a short period of time? The answer, it's never happened before. The closest example I can come up with is the exponentially declining costs and exponentially increasing performance of computers. And maybe you noticed over the last few decades, computers have become absolutely ubiquitous. They've changed every aspect of our lives, literally everything, everywhere, total disruption. Now, just imagine that same level of change and disruption applied to medicine, human longevity, health and well-being. This is what the genomic revolution is setting us up for. This is why I'm so excited. ARK believes that as costs continue to drop, NGS will become a standard of care in oncology. It will introduce more science into healthcare decision-making, enable personalized medicine, and accelerate drug discovery. ARK estimates that NGS revenues will grow 43% at an annual rate from $3.5 billion last year to $21 billion in 2024. The cost of DNA sequencing is declining precipitously. ARK believes that NGS costs are declining at a rapid rate following Wright's law. For every cumulative doubling in units produced, costs declined by 40%. If NGS had followed Moore's law since 2009, the cost of sequencing a whole human genome today would be $100,000, more than 2 orders of magnitude higher than the $1,000 that Wright's law predicted. Do you guys understand the implications of such dramatically declining costs on a disruptive, innovative technology? Let me give you an analogy. Let's just say that battery costs had declined at the same rate that genomic sequencing costs had declined over a 10-year period. Let's just say that a battery back in 2009 cost you $10,000. You could put it in an electric vehicle, get a tiny bit of range. Today, that same battery would cost $1. Not $100, not $1,000, $1. From $10,000 to $1 in a single decade. That is the scale. That is the dramatic cost decline that we're seeing in genomics, in DNA sequencing. This is critically important for you guys to understand. This is bonkers. As costs decline, demand for sequencing is surging. ARK believes that the number of whole human genomes sequenced per year should scale 110% at an annual rate from roughly 2.6 million in 2019 to 105 million in 2024, thanks to the clinical adoption of molecular diagnostics. Among these sequencing-intensive tests are liquid biopsies, solid tumor profiling, germline testing, immune oncology, and non-invasive prenatal screening. And we can see the increase in volume of genomes sequenced. This is not a linear graph, this is a log graph. If this was linear, we would see an exponential curve just going up to the moon. Wouldn't really be very useful, but look at this. ARK is estimating 2.6 million genomes sequenced in 2019 to 105 million in 2024. Think about the implications for the enormous amount of data, apply some artificial intelligence to that, learn a little bit more about disease, aging, longevity, well-being, etc. You guys see where this is going, right? Trillions of dollars of opportunity. Next generation sequencing should transform clinical oncology. NGS enables clinicians to gauge an individual's risk of cancer. Did you guys hear that? One more time. NGS enables clinicians to gauge an individual's risk of cancer, treat diagnosed patients, and monitor disease recurrence more precisely. And here are the 3 areas of major impact. For undiagnosed patients, combined with other electronic healthcare data, genetic information could identify cancer in stage 1, including germline risk assessment. In other words, based on your genome, what's your risk, what's your likelihood of developing this disease, this cancer, etc. Patient-centric monitoring via liquid biopsy, and less invasive tissue profiling. For diagnosed patients, NGS enables sophisticated tumor profiling and precision therapies throughout the course of treatment, including somatic tissue testing, liquid biopsy for advanced disease, and therapy matching. In other words, for a patient who's already diagnosed, next-generation DNA sequencing can provide greater insight into what's actually affecting them, what treatments will be effective, and how treatments are actually working. And for patients in remission, NGS can monitor patients in remission non-invasively and frequently to identify recurrences. Again, the sooner you catch something, including remission, the sooner it can be dealt with, the less likely it's going to end up in a really bad outcome for the patient. Liquid biopsy sequence tumor-derived DNA fragments circulating in the bloodstream. Oncologists use this information, matching patients to therapies without the need for invasive tissue biopsies. Now, in case you're not really familiar with the jargon here, let me explain in simple terms. Liquid biopsy, take a bit of blood, figure out what's wrong, Bob's your uncle. The alternative, invasive tissue biopsies, as the term suggests, they are very invasive and require tissue. What's another word for tissue? Flesh. Yeah, that's right. They're going in with a knife and scalpel and removing part of you to figure out what's wrong versus taking a little bit of a blood sample and figuring it out. As a patient, which would you prefer? And of course, there is a limit here. You can't take out an unlimited amount of flesh and tissue from a patient without actually killing them as well. So it's a little bit easier to be taking blood to figure out what's wrong, what's going right, etc., than constantly digging out tissue. I know it's a bit gruesome, but this is the difference. This is why this is such transformative technology. Sizing the opportunity. ARK believes that the average price to sequence a whole human genome will fall to roughly $200 by 2024. Based on Wright's law, ARK estimates that NGS revenues could grow at an annual rate of 43%, reaching $21 billion in 2024. In other words, there's an enormous amount of growth ahead in the DNA sequencing industry. Enormous in the short term. Biotech R&D Efficiency. The convergence of artificial intelligence, next-generation DNA sequencing, and CRISPR gene editing has the potential to boost the efficiency of drug development radically. It should shorten development timelines, reduce failure rates, and increase returns on R&D in the search for disease cures. ARK's research shows that the convergence of AI, NGS, and CRISPR gene editing could add trillions to the market capitalization of the biotech and pharmaceutical industries while creating a more efficient healthcare system. Now, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I really want to emphasize this line. Could add trillions to the market capitalization of the biotech and pharmaceutical industries. I agree with ARK here. We're not talking billions here. This is trillions with a T, and I don't think the stock market has any idea what's around the corner. Free technological advances could boost the efficiency of drug development radically. And guys, just in case you don't know, typically developing a new drug can cost billions of dollars and take over a decade. So this really matters. Next generation sequencing sequences faster, cheaper, and with higher fidelity. In other words, more accurate. Guides patients towards targeted treatments. This is specialized, personalized, customized medicine versus general medicine. Much more likely to be more effective based on the patient, their own genome, blah, 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 blah. and improves clinical trial selection. CRISPR gene editing edits faster and cheaper with more capability, enables earlier experimentation, and turns chronic conditions into potential cures. And by the way guys, if you don't really know a whole lot about CRISPR, that is your homework. After you finish watching this video, go to a crash course on what the fuck is CRISPR gene editing. And artificial intelligence accelerates the discovery of drug candidates, increases clinical trial participation, and lowers the cost of sequencing and analysis. These three technologies combined equates to cures for chronic conditions, fewer failures in drug development, and shorter development timelines. Next generation DNA sequencing is critical to clinical trial success rates. Drug development companies are making clinical trials more efficient by using NGS to find and enroll patients likely to respond. Half of clinical trials and 80% of oncology trials now collect genetic information. ARK believes clinical trials using genetic diagnostics will result in fewer failed drugs and will increase capital efficiency. And we can see that shown here. Genetic diagnostics can lower failure rates by 45% in phase 3 lung cancer trials. So the overall failure rate here, 72%. With targeted drugs, 69%, and with genetic diagnostic drugs, 38% failure rate, a 45% reduction, and that equates to enormous cost savings. Over here on the right, we can see the typical cost of R&D for a drug, one drug to get FDA approval, $720 million. With just a 10% reduction in failure rate, that's a saving of $200 million for a single new drug. If the failure rate's reduced even more by 25%, that halves the cost to develop the drug. And if the failure rate is reduced by 45%, that means the total cost of R&D is only $220 million versus $720. And now you guys can start to see some of the enormous financial implications. Artificial intelligence should reduce the time to market for new therapies. AI is being deployed increasingly to address major diseases and to boost efficiency throughout the healthcare system. AI should increase clinical trial throughput by improving patient recruitment and retention, potentially cutting trial times by more than half. And this is a really interesting chart here. Publication volume of machine learning and deep learning papers focused on major diseases. Nothing. Holy shit, what just happened? You know what just happened? Enormously decreasing costs for genome sequencing and enormous increases in the power, scope, scale, and capabilities of artificial intelligence. And we can see the financial implications of artificial intelligence reducing time to market for new therapies over here. Again, average cost to bring a new drug to market, FDA approved, $720 million. Just reducing time to market by a mere 10% reduces that total cost to $675 million. A 45% reduction in time to market brings that down to $535 million, an enormous dramatic reduction. Curing diseases comes at a higher sticker price but a much better bang for the buck. Gene editing promises to transform our ability to create and deliver gene and cell therapies. To date, only 10 therapies have been FDA approved, 3 of them targeting cancer, but more than 2,000 trials have been registered. Approved by the FDA in the last 2 years, the first 3 gene therapies demonstrated high rates of complete remission in liquid tumors at a low cost per life year. Average cost of chronic cancer treatments versus gene therapies. Chronic cancer treatments on average cost $158,000 US, gene therapies $424,000. However, average life years gained by treatment paradigm. Chronic cancer treatments on average adding 1.6 years of life to the patient versus cancer gene therapies adding 4.9 years, as in 3 times as much lifespan added based on the different therapy. Average cost of cancer care per life year gained, $134,000 for chronic cancer treatment versus $100,000 for gene therapies. As ARK notes, while the list price is 2 to 3 times higher, gene therapies can be more cost effective per life year gained. And don't forget, this is still really early days in terms of gene therapies. Just imagine the exponential progress over the next few years and the next decade or two. Just remember guys, we really are in the first innings of human longevity, health, gene therapy, and the genomic revolution. Just for a little bit of insight into the potential scope and scale of this investment opportunity, just as an example, let me know in the comments below, if you guys had the option of living to 150 years old in great mental and physical health, Would you take that option up? Would you like to live a long and healthy life to 150 years of age or not? The combination of sequencing, editing, and artificial intelligence could reverse decaying returns on therapeutic R&D. A marginal increase in clinical trial success rates, coupled with an increase in trial throughput and the premium pricing afforded to curative therapies, could catalyze returns to R&D not seen since the biotech revolution. And here we're looking at pharma and biotech returns on drug research and development costs and potential trajectories. We can see some ups and downs here, but a scary trend here beginning in 2000 with R&D returns absolutely plummeting. And we can see here ARK Invest is predicting an enormous uptick in R&D returns based on pricing improvements, reduction in time to market, and reduction in failures of trials. Alright guys, just a quick public service announcement. Make sure you're sitting down for this one and brace for impact. Sizing the opportunity. Improvements in R&D efficiency could add $9 trillion to the market capitalization of therapeutics companies during the next 5 years. One more time. Improvements in R&D efficiency could add $9 trillion, that is trillion with a T, to the market capitalization of therapeutics companies during the next 5 years. This is based on a reduction in failure rate of 10% and time to market reduction by 25% for new therapies. Now, I don't know about you guys, but a $9 trillion investment opportunity sounds like the kind of investment I'd like to participate in rather than miss out on. Now, I understand that DNA sequencing, gene therapies, CRISPR technology, this whole thing can be rather confusing and intimidating at first. It is what it is. My suggestion to you guys is to understand this stuff. Dig as deep as you need to, learn as long as you need to, get a fundamental understanding, then you'll be able to make some intelligent investment decisions and participate in the genomics revolution. But I really do want to encourage you guys to do things in the right sequence. Get it? Sequence? Because, oh god, that was bad. I'm just going to leave it. The point is, I'm serious though, try to understand what's going on here before you start throwing money around and YOLOing on the next biotech penny stock. Once you have a fundamental understanding of the technology, you'll be able to make much more informed investment decisions. And I'd love to know in the comments below, what genomic stocks do you own and why? I'm Stephen Mark Ryan, this is Solving the Money Problem, and I love you all. And don't forget, if you live in the US and you'd like to help out the channel and get up to 4 free stocks, check out the link in the description to WeBull. If you open a new account, you'll get 2 free stocks between $2.50 and $250 each just for opening an account. And if you deposit $100, you'll get a further 2 free stocks valued between $8 and $1,600 each. And if you're in Australia, the UK or New Zealand, you can get a free stock with stake also using the link in the description. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And of course, if you have any ideas for future videos, let me know. I read all your comments. PS, if you're still watching, you're awesome. If you'd like early access, exclusive videos, regular Q&As, our private Discord server and more, consider supporting the channel at patreon.com/solvingthemoneyproblem so I can keep creating content for you guys. There's a link in the description. You can now also become a member of the channel for some exclusive perks. To learn more, click the join button next to subscribe. And don't forget to check out our merch store. Either way, the best form of support is you being here and watching, so thanks again.